Ballance program with guest stars Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and Fred Waring. Famous Pennsylvanians Stars and Stripes Forever from the fabulous new Reprise album entitled America, I Hear You Singing, starring Academy Award winners Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby, plus, of course, Fred Waring himself, all of whom are my special guests tonight on this KFWB Bill Ballance special, during the course of which we hope to record whether modern teenagers regard patriotism as being in or out. We'll have a sort of a teen-oriented discussion of patriotism and government on a strictly nonpartisan basis. Not only because this is the 4th of July weekend, an ideal time to sort of reassess our feelings about patriotism, but this is also an election year. Our forefathers, those fearless few who signed the Declaration of Independence, founded a really enduring republic that has probably endured far more than they ever dreamt it would. Anyway, let's get underway now. First, musically with Frank and Bing, backed by Fred Waring, and let's break bread together.
My knees. together on our knees. Let us drink wine together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me.
Three of my special celebrity guests here on Balanced Scene Topics heard there with Let Us Break Bread Together. Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Fred Waring. First question, Bing, is for you. As we all know, why you and Frank and Fred are now at the very climaxes of your respective careers. You gentlemen have probably, well, invariably brought into coordinated focus a lifetime of wonderfully varied research into that extremely elusive organism we call entertainment. Bing Crosby is the true diplomat singer. He knows exactly how to handle himself in every conceivable situation. All I can say is I wish all of our American diplomats in every administration were as skilled as Bing. I've always felt that our diplomats should emulate you musicians. That is, they should never conduct foreign overtures without first knowing the score. And believe me, Bing Crosby knows the score. He's a sort of an executive of his career and of his life. Not so much a part of it, but its overseer. However, he thinks incessantly about precisely how to handle his career. Now, Bing Crosby has never been associated with politically addle-pated adherents, people, running around with slogans like wishful thinkers of the world unite, things like that, you know. Unlike some performers, Bing Crosby never issues clarion communiques, but Bing Crosby is a true American patriot who one time suggested we start a new political party called a meritocracy, run strictly on merit. Bing, now beside being gifted as a performer, you were also highly eloquent and extremely well-informed. And one of the songs you are singing in your new album called America, I Hear You Singing, is This Is a Great Country. I wonder if you'd reveal now by way of KFWB exactly how and why you regard this as a great country.
Well, Bill, strictly from a materialistic point of view, you have but to look around you for the answer. Our fields, our farms, our forests, or our lakes, streams, and mountains. Gee, no other land in the world can claim such an abundance. In no other land can a man, if he wants to work, can he attain such affluence or such comfort or well-being. But really, more importantly than all this, I think this is a great country because of the ideals which gave it life. I mean, the principles of freedom, of tolerance, of understanding. Those are the things which constitute its foundation and which make it a great, great country.
Thank you, Bing. Bing, you mentioned materialistic matters. Now, of course, all three of you gentlemen are more than somewhat well-to-do, which is great. I mean, really fine, particularly because you all made it the hard way on your own, proving once again that we are all extremely privileged to live in a nation where any man, any woman is free to earn what he or she can, save his or her money to buy an ownership interest in any American business. Now, this opportunity and privilege is one of the strongest elements of the United States free enterprise system. It's just one of many of our priceless heritages of fiscal freedom, let's put it. To put it another way, I think it's significant there's no stock exchange, for example, in the Soviet Union. Another reason I agree with you, Bing, is that this is a great country, is that our nation, America's kindness, has never been equaled in all human history. America turns her cheek practically every day. America fights only to defend her own family. But when she has finally defeated her enemies, America binds up their wounds, feeds their children, pays their bills, and hands out billions upon billions of dollars to restore them to an honorable place among the nations of the world. Yes, Bing, this is a great country, and let's listen to you sing about it.
This is a great country, so let's shout it clear and loud. Take a look in your history book, and you'll see why we should be proud. Hats off to America, the home of the free and the brave. If this is flag waving, do you know of a better flag to wave? This is a great country, a great country, so let's shout it clear and loud. Take a look in your history book, and you'll know why we should be proud. So hats off to America, the home of the free and the brave. If this is flag waving, do you know a better flag to wave? Impossible. Do you know a better flag? Forget it. There is no better flag to
This is a great country. I have more questions for you, Bing, and for you too, Fred Waring. And right now I'd like to point out that Frank Sinatra won a special Oscar back in 1945 for his outstanding performance in The House I Live In, a short subject devoted to the theme of tolerance, for which, of course, Frank has always been an ardent, active crusader. Frank Sinatra has fought intolerance with unrelenting zeal, and yet he is well aware that hard facts must be adjusted to vaporous doctrine. He is not a man to sit back and let chaos take its course. Frank, do you think our nation has made any progress in the dark corner of discrimination since your own efforts in this particular field were recognized?
Well, I'm not a sociologist or a statesman. I'm just an entertainer who gives as much of his spare time to keeping in touch with the world around me as I can. And on the positive side, I'd say that those who are trying to right a dreadful wrong are working with truly dedicated conviction, and as a result have managed to break through the wall of prejudice and apathy in a few strategic spots. On the negative side, I'd say that the majority are not facing up to this issue any more than they've been facing up to a dozen other issues. I'm not saying that by being more aware, they could thereby automatically accomplish anything, but I am saying that no great reforms ever occurred until a majority finally stood up and was counted. Now, this is a 100-year-old evasion and bears the scars of our own guilt. And the violence would not accompany this revolution had we acted like decent members of the human race way back then.
Okay, Frank, to dovetail with what you just said, let's listen now to your singing of The House I Live In. Then I'll have a question for Fred Waring.
What is America? a flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? The house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, the grocer and the butcher, and the people that I meet, the children in the playground, the faces that I see, all races and religions. That's America to me. The place I work in, worker by my side, a little town or city where my people lived and died. The howdy and the handshake, the air of feeling free, and the right to speak my mind now. That's America to me. The things I see about me, the big things and the small, the little corner newsstand and the house a mile tall, the wedding and the churchyard, the laughter and the tears, and the dream that's been a growing for 180 years. The town I live in, the street, the house, the room, pavement of the city, or a garden all in bloom, the church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people. That's America to me.
Frank Sinatra's The House I Live In from the terrific new Reprise album called America, I Hear You Singing, in which he co-stars with Bing Crosby and Fred Waring. And Fred's right here. Fred, you know, 100 years ago, Abraham Lincoln said, "You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift." Lincoln said, "You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help the wage-earning man by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot help the brotherhood of man by encouraging class hatred." Lincoln said, "You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot establish sound security on borrowed money." He said, "You cannot build character and courage by taking away man's initiative and independence. You cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could easily do for themselves." In effect, I believe that Abraham Lincoln was referring to what is now known as the welfare state, which a great many people think we've been heading for since the mid-1930s. Well, my own personal feeling is this, that when people start waiting to get out of this country, instead of waiting many years to get in, then we can start worrying and wondering about our system of government. Now, Fred Waring, do you think our nation is in any way at all at a crossroads or a crisis point?
Bill, it's a good question, although I'm not an authority. I'll do my best to answer it. I think since crisis is used in several ways, crisis could be in relation to a disease. Where the disease goes, will it be cured, or will we face continued life or death? I think that we do have a disease in our country. It's complacency. I think that we are wont to to let things take care of themselves. When we're in the war, we fight. We get together, and our shoulders are together, and we fight. But we're not in a war per se now, and we have a tendency to be a little careless. We fight one another, we pick on one another, but I feel that we need a little bit more consideration for one another, and we won't have these problems which continue to bug us. Nations, for a long time, have had a difficulty in continuing. If they're prosperous, they get a little careless, and others get jealous of them, and we begin to think that we're better than other nations because we're more prosperous. We have it easy. I think what we lack in our country is a real realization of the wonders of our nation, our land, our people, our homes, our everything. We have so much here in our country that we don't appreciate. That's the purpose of this album, really, is to point out in song the beauties and the great things that we have around us, which we could show more appreciation for. We really have a tremendous land, tremendous country. All we need is a little pride. Let's not forget to stand up when the Star-Spangled Banner is played, and stand at attention just for a change, not look around and show a little too much self-consciousness. There's nothing disgraceful about being proud of your country and thrilling to the sight of your flag. Stars and Stripes is a great thing, you know, and it's pulled us through, it's started us. What we need to do is work and fight to keep our country what it is. I don't think we're at a crisis, and I don't think there's any problem with the crossroads. I think what we have to do is to decide to mend our ways a little bit and be a wonderful family, and a great family of families. And I think everything's going just great if we do our own part and show appreciation for what we have.
Fred, I think you expressed those feelings exactly in your marvelous cut from the album America, I Hear You Singing, when you and your fabulous Pennsylvanians describe the hills of home.
Miss the broken sky.
home on KFWB, Los Angeles. You are listening to a KFWB Bill Ballance Communicative Caucus with my special in-person celebrity guests, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and Fred Waring, whose beautiful Hills of Home you just heard. I have more questions for both Frank and Fred right now. Bing, I'd like to answer a teenager's note here and then ask you a question, okay? This note asks about how campaign funds are acquired, and my answer is this. Campaign funds are made up of coppers from the general public, plus nickels from the candidate's personal friends, plus silver from people who hate the opposition and want some kind of revenge, plus gold from people who want something from the winner. Now, this is a significant political year, and every time I think along those lines, it occurs to me that we voters, we American voters, should always keep in mind that a politician is a man who thinks only of the next election, whereas the true statesman thinks of the next generation. Bing, it seems to me that an awful lot of politicians make the mistake of forgetting that they have been appointed instead of anointed. How do you personally feel about the responsibility of a public official?
Bill, I think a public official has an inescapable responsibility to vindicate in the largest measure possible. He's got to lean backwards. He's got to go as far as he can to vindicate the confidence of the people who elected him. I think he must be scrupulously honest. He must be dedicated. And if he's not equipped because of lack of education or ability to discharge the office that he seeks, he can't do the job. If he can't do what he claims he's going to do, I don't think he should even run. Honestly, I'm constantly appalled, speaking of politics. This is not exactly in answer to your question, but it's in a similar vein. I'm constantly appalled at the number of congressmen and senators who unabashedly make deals with other congressmen and senators in order to get their own legislation advanced. Seems to me that this is a heinous practice. It really is. And any public official worthy of the name should rigidly eschew this kind of hanky-panky. I think he has a responsibility when he's elected as a public official to try and advance legislation that will serve his community, his constituents. But I don't think he should be reduced to the necessity of going out and making deals with other congressmen. You vote for my bill, I'll vote for yours. This back-scratching really, to me, is highly reprehensible. I think it ought to be done away with. Probably never will be, though.
Well, we'll soon find out, Bing, with the conventions imminent. You know, it's always seemed to me that a political convention is nothing more than a sort of a meeting which shows that the greatest difference of opinion is always found among members of the same party. And still, I suppose, a pound of conventions is worth an ounce of primaries. Another brief thought along that line, Bing. It always seems that in an election year, the politicians simply can't seem to leave welfare enough alone. Of course, one of the great advantages of our form of democratic government is that all the candidates cannot be elected. Well, now let's listen to Bing sing "A Home in the Meadow," and I'll have further questions for him, for Bing, that is, and for Frank Sinatra and Fred Waring.
where I'll build you a home in the home in the meadow.
Oh, boy. Bing Crosby's beautiful A Home in the Meadow, backed by Fred Waring, for whom I have another question, by the way, in a very few seconds, Fred. One teenager who was fascinated in politics asked me the other day if I, as a disc jockey, read the speeches of all White House hopefuls. And my answer is yes, of course. And believe me, they all follow a familiar pattern, which leads me to think that what this country needs is more free speech really worth listening to. I mean, like every campaigning candidate assures you that the fate of the nation depends upon his party's victory, when both parties know in their collective hearts that their own fate and ours depends upon the survival of our republic. And our republic's survival depends upon more than 185 million Americans. Now, it seems to me that politics has always been basically a quest for power. Those engaged in striving for public office are generally, I repeat, generally, driven by expediency. Presidential aspirants discuss plans for, a sort of an ultimate millennial in domestic and international society. As a matter of fact, however, the elections do not solve problems. They merely change the men who must face those problems. Now, that's an answer to a teenager's question, which leads me to ask you, Fred Waring. Fred, do you think that this is from a rather unusual teenager, or do you think that most teenagers are interested in government?
I feel, Bill, that if teenagers were given in school an opportunity to practice government, even in their class. I know of many occasions, or instances, I should say, where towns give over the operation, all the government of their towns for a day to teenagers by having a full election, having them run the mayor and all of the council and the police department. And they get a tremendous kick out of this, and they become more important citizens by being given this encouragement. Perhaps, let's see, I think educational television could enlighten them a little more and point out to the youngsters that they are the future governors of our nation. Point it out in very certain terms. Let them understand that what happens to them 20 years from now is their own responsibility. I don't know of any direct method other than in schools and in their clubs, letting them hold their elections and operate. And I would say that they would do this often to become really excited about it.
I hereby acquiesce, Fred Waring. My next question for Frank Sinatra. But first, Fred, let's hear from your beautiful new album called America, I Hear You Singing, on Reprise. You and your famous Pennsylvanians with Give Me Your Tired, Your Poor.
Beside
Fred Waring's Give Me Your Tired, You're Poor, from the beautiful new album America, I Hear You Singing, also starring Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby. I have another question for you, Fred, but stand by for a moment, please. Want to hear now from that peerless paisan, Francis Albert Sinatra. Frank, you sing a really meaningful and meritorious song called Early American in this particular album, just mentioned. This musical figment of folklore, which we're about to hear, might kind of indicate your interest in American history and the fact that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. You know, most historians nowadays agree that history is merely a patchwork of surmises and conjectures, that the old days sound better than they actually lived. History, for the most part, is verified gossip, a sort of fable agreed upon. However, it's all we have to go on, so we have to live with it, you know. History is a cycle of which the present is only a small segment of the cosmic curve. And broadly speaking, if we could know where we are going, we would have only to look backward to see where we've been. Now, Frank, I wonder if there's any particular time in the past that you wish that you had lived through rather than, perhaps the present time.
Well, if they'd had penicillin when Greece was swinging, I wouldn't have turned down a ticket to an Aristophanes comedy. And I would like to have met Montaigne and Erasmus, Shakespeare, and Dostoevsky. Sure, I'd like to have lived in many eras of the past, but if I had, I'd never have had the chance to meet Mr. Roosevelt, Mr. Kennedy, and 100 others I've been lucky enough to meet during my life.
For which I certainly envy you. Well, Frank, let's go back to another age musically now with you singing Early American.
So
Carter's Early American with Fred Waring's Pennsylvanians. More questions for you, Frank, and also Fred, but now Mr. Crosby. You know, being my own personal opinion is that when people become afraid of freedom, they try to give it up. They regiment themselves because regimentation provides a sort of a comforting sense of security, of belonging to something. The comfort never has lasted, though, but people try it anyway. I mean, when I'm not disc jockeying here at KFWB, I'm a student of history, and I have found that no civilization ever perished from lack of doubt. But I have found that civilizations usually die through the ossification of their traditional faith, through a sort of arteriosclerosis of their beliefs. History offers each of its challenges only once. After only one failure, the offer is withdrawn forever. Babylon, Athens, Rome, Thebes, Alexandria, Madrid, Vienna sink back and never, never rise again. Now, my question to you, Bing, is do you think that the present time is one of crisis? Are we Americans at any sort of significant crossroads?
Oh, Bill, I think Americans are always up against a crisis of some kind. Our history has been loaded with crises and crossroads, been replete with them. And some of them have been dandies, too. But certainly those confronting us now, I mean both internal problems and international problems, are more extreme, a lot more complex than any we've ever faced before. Gosh, I couldn't even begin to give you the solution. I'm an entertainer, or I used to be, but surely with the right people at the helm, these situations can be faced. They can be faced resolutely, and they can be solved.
I'm with you, Bing. And now from the Reprise album you cut with Frank Sinatra and Fred Waring, America, I Hear You Singing. Let's hear Bing and This Land Is Your Land.
The New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that luminous highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. For you and me, this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream ocean, this land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream ocean, this land was made for you and me. Oh, the sun was shining, and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and land was made for you and me.
Crosby, and this land is your land. Now back to one of his colleagues, Frank Sinatra. Frank, do you think there's any way of stimulating teenagers' interest in government?
There was a step in that direction in Mr. Roosevelt's time, something called the CCC, and Mr. Kennedy's administration, too. I'm sure that the Peace Corps was a breath of fresh air for thousands of young people who wanted to participate and didn't know how to do it. Now, we all know that there is a tragically apathetic as well as an anarchistic tendency in much of our youth. But while we are bemoaning this fact, we are overlooking the more positive fact that the good boys and girls are the best I, for one, have ever known. They're more believing, more angry, more clearer in their understanding of ethics and principles than my generation was. And any way we can find to let these kids know that they're needed will be a blessing probably to all humanity. We mustn't, by any means, risk the cynicism that can develop in them if they are led to believe that the future is to be left to cold, calculating political maneuvers, and that hope, wisdom, and the refusal to give up the dream stuff of poets and passe idealists. I believe that books, movies, even songs and entertainment can offer the thin edge of the wedge. Any way to bring into play the strength and belief of the young should have priority in all social government, educational planning.
Thank you, Frank. I'd like to ask Bing Crosby the same thing. Bing, do you think there's any way of nudging teenagers into becoming interested in government?
Yes, you know what I'd do, Bill? I'd make General Douglas MacArthur's life story. It's been appearing in one of the leading periodicals. I suppose it'll be out in a book soon. I would make his life story required reading for every teenager in the land. I think the General's concept of love, honor, and duty, the way he was raised, the beliefs which his parents inculcated into him, I think his devotion to his flag, his country, and for everything it stood for, I think all these things should be an inspiration to every teenager. I think they should be able, after they read this great man's life story, they should be able to clearly see on what this country was built. And they should resolve to fight for those principles.
Well, Bing, how are teenagers different now from the, how shall I put it, from the Paleozoic era when you and Frank were teenagers?
That's about the time, yeah. I thought it was the Neanderthal age. Oh, I suppose, Bill, the difference is minor, although to us it seems vast sometimes. Possibly today's group is a little more exhibitionist, a little more self-dramatizing. I mean in public. Gee, if a kid in my time acted as some of these kids do today in public demonstrations for entertainment figures, why, he'd have been ticked off as a nut. He'd have been shunned like a leper. But these kids today are all right, I guess. There's more of them, so they're more nuts. Or anyhow, it seems like it.
Thank you, Bing. Back to Frank Sinatra now. Frank, how do you feel about the difference in teenagers now and when you were a lad back east?
Well, as I just said, there are two totally dissimilar kinds of teenagers, perhaps having fewer points in common than in any age. I don't know this, but I don't remember having read of any age in which the positive and negative phases of youth have been so dramatically split. On the side of the vandalistic and destructive teenager, I must say that he is to be pitied as well as scorned. He has not only been unlovingly misunderstood and neglected by his parents, but as well, he's been born in and grown up in an age of war, rumors of war, of materialism, greed, corruption, apathy, disrespect for the dreamer and the visionary, and a bleakly cynical dismissal of morality and principle. So let's lay the blame where it belongs, in the laps of the non-teenagers.
Thank you, Frank. Fred Waring, I'd like to ask you the same question, essentially. How are contemporary teenagers different from the days when you yourself were a teenager?
How are teenagers different now from our time? Well, Bill, I really feel sorry for today's teenagers because I don't think they're given adequate opportunities. How many teenagers do you know that take overnight hikes and do their own cooking? Well, how many teenagers do you know that walk? Unfortunately, they are either given cars or they go out and buy wheels that are pretty worn out, and they just don't want to. Well, I know kids that won't even ride a bike now because there's no status symbol in a bicycle. It's got to be a car of some sort. And how many teenagers do you know who really go out and want to earn their way? They get paid, yes, for their time, but unfortunately, today's way of life offers no apprenticeship. They aren't inspired to learn a trade or to learn how to become anything which is important to them in the future. I think it's the parents' fault, and I admit that I have been wrong in several instances by not in some way showing my teenage children the value of personal effort and work. When I was 17, I owned my own business, and when I was 13, I had a pretty good job. Worked 14 hours a day and got $10 a week, but it at least taught me to earn my own way. And I feel that the teenagers today are being deprived of those opportunities because of the easy life that we practice today. Maybe this goes back to the possibility of a crisis in our country. Maybe the teenagers are not being inspired. Do they stand up when they hear the Star-Spangled Banner? And are they at attention when our flag passes by or when they see a flag? Is it being shown them? Are we given enough opportunity to study with the Boy Scouts and other boys' clubs and girls' clubs? Do they learn? Are they learning trades and crafts? These are opportunities. Let's not deny our teenagers these opportunities. Surely there's more than a jukebox and a soda fountain to inspire our kids today, and I think it's up to us. But let's not deny them these wonderful things that helped us to grow up. Let's point out their advantages over ours and show them that we never had it anywhere near so good as they now have it.
Right, Fred.
Maybe that'll help.
Correct. Now let's shift conversational gears here for a moment. Frank and Bing. Seems to me, gentlemen, at least here in the West Coast, that grad nights are more festive than I myself as a teenager. Matter of fact, Frank, I happened to MC the giant grad night celebration of your daughter Nancy when she was graduated from University High in West Los Angeles back in 1958. Now, even though this year's grad nights are now a part of the riotous past, I'm curious about what you two did when you graduated, Frank.
Well, I don't think we made quite the triumph of occasions like grad night in my youth as they do now in our age of permissive upbringing. I think we were glad to have scraped through school, and yet we were not looking forward with joy to the prospect of going out and facing the big poker-faced world, leaving the dependence of our home, and at long last having to make our own decisions. No, I don't remember grad night as any gala affair.
Thank you, Frank. Bing, how about the action on your grad night?
Grad night, Bill? I haven't the faintest idea. That's too long ago, grad night. I suppose possibly our parents were so amazed that we finally made it, they just sat there in dazed disbelief. No celebrations of any kind as I recall. I just simply grabbed my diploma and ran like a scalded dog.
Bing, I did the very same thing at the University of Illinois a few semesters back. Many thanks to Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Fred Waring. This is Bill Ballance, and my regular teen topics will return at its normal time next Sunday night, 9:30, with at least one celebrity guest. The foregoing 4th of July weekend patriotacular was arranged by our program director Jim Hawthorne. Engineer was the redoubtable Joe Prim. And KFW between now and next Sunday, I suggest in all earnestness that you listen to the Bill Ballance shows on Channel 98 every night from 6 till 9. The preceding hour was tape recorded for release at this more memorable time and will promptly be ensconced in the permanent files of the Kroll Collier Broadcasting Corporation.
This is KFWB Los Angeles.